Hi all, welcome to Tech Forum. In this video, let us deep dive into the UI front-end module enabled as part of latest AEM archetypes. And also, let us see how to enable multi-tenant or multi-theme support for AEM front-end module. The latest AEM project archetype includes an optional dedicated front-end module based on Webpack build mechanism. The UI front-end module is the central location for all of the project's front-end resources, including JavaScript and CSS files. By default, the latest archetypes creates the front-end module. The default value for this parameter front-end module is general. So we can specify as none to disable the front-end module generation. This is the module structure UI front-end. UI front-end module stores the JavaScript, CSS, and other resources like images, fonts, etc. The front-end module build process generates the client library and places it to the UI apps module. Maven build deploys the final package that includes the client library generated by front-end module. This diagram shows little more details. The front-end module contains SCSS, means the CSS preprocessor files, TypeScript, then CSS, JavaScript. The Webpack bundler generates the CSS and JavaScript files and creates the required client libraries. The final package, including the client library, is deployed to AEM server. Let us now see some of the features enabled with UI front-end module. The first one is full TypeScript ES6 and ES5 support through Webpack wrappers. You can code in latest standards. Webpack takes care of different browser supports. The next one is TypeScript and JavaScript linting using a TS-lint rule set, means this will check for a code quality. Then ES5 output for legacy browser support. The next one is globing, no manual imports required, components are automatically included. The next one is the client library related files, example .content.xml or js.txt, css.txt, or the configurations, the preprocessor configurations are automatically generated. The next one is this supports chunks, means generates different set of JS and CSS files, example site specific and other external dependencies. This fully supports SASS preprocessor. The Webpack compiles the SASS files into CSS. This enables Webpack development server proxying to the local AEM instance. It means the local style changes can be quickly tested while other files are proxied from the AEM server. This applies all the required optimizations for CSS and JS files. Let us now quickly see the different tools used by front-end module. The first one is Node.js. This is a backend JavaScript runtime environment to run the JavaScript. The next one is NPM. NPM is a package manager for JavaScript programming language. You can install different packages, JavaScript packages to your application. The next one is Webpack. This is an open source JavaScript module bundler. This generates the required JavaScript and CSS. The next one is Webpack Dev Server. This is a development server. This provides live reloading functionality. So whenever there is a change, the browsers will be reloaded automatically. So then you can quickly test the application. The next one is Babel. This is a JavaScript transcompiler. This converts the latest code into the JavaScript that can be run by older JavaScript engine. Next one is ESLint. This is a static code analysis tool for identifying the problems in JavaScript. The next one is TypeScript. This is a programming language developed and maintained by Microsoft. This extends JavaScript by adding types to the language. The next one is SASS and SCSS. This is the CSS preprocessors compiled into CSS during build. The next one is AEM Fed. This listens for the file changes, example UI apps module, and upload them to the running AEM instance. Also refresh the browser tabs for style changes. Then AEM ClientLib generator. This is a Node plugin. This creates AEM ClientLib configurations file for the CSS and JS files. Let me quickly create a project. So this is the Maven command. I'll go and execute here. Okay, the project is created now. Let us quickly review the project. So all the modules are created. If you see here UI frontend, if I go into that, SRC, main, Webpack, then components, resources, site, static, coincide components, which have all the component style and JS. Also if I go to resources, it has fonts and images. Then site, this is site specific styles and also the variables. Also this is the entry point. Now if I go to static, it has a static HTML. Now if I come back, this has some configuration files like webpack.prod.js, webpack.dev.js, then comment.js, then tsconfig.json, then clientlib.config.js, then eslint.rc.js, then Babel configuration file. As we seen, this is the project structure. Let us quickly see the purpose of different files and folders. The components folder, this stores the component specific CSS and JavaScript. The next one is resources. This stores all these resources like images and fonts. Then site folder, this contains site specific styles. Also it has the configurations to pull the component styles and JavaScript. Static folder, this contains static HTML. This helps the developer to see the CSS and JS changes quickly without deploying the changes to AEM server. Then clientlib.config.js, this contains the configurations for AEM clientlib generator module. Then webpack.common.js, this contains the common configurations for Webpack. Then webpack.dev.js, dev only Webpack config file shares the configuration from webpack.common.js. Webpack.prod.js, this is the prod only Webpack config file. This also shares the webpack.common.js. Then eslint configuration file. Then tsconfig.json, this specifies the root level files for TypeScript project and also the configurations required to compile TypeScript project. Package.json, this defines the project dependencies and the required scripts. Let us quickly review the files. Let me start with webpack prod.js. This contains the prod configurations. So also sharing this webpack.common.js. This contains all the configurations required to generate CSS and JS for production server. Webpack.dev.js. So let me open. This again shares the webpack.common.js. This contains the configurations to generate CSS and JS for dev server. So also here if you see the specific configurations, there is a HTML Webpack plugin with this static file, static index.html. This is for quick validation. Also there is a proxy server defined, dev server, and proxying to http:/localhost 4502. The proxied path are content and etc.clientlibs. So this proxy server is very useful. So the local client library changes are injected to the browser and the remaining content is fetched from this server, so that without deploying the changes, you can quickly test the style changes or JavaScript changes. Webpack.common.js, let me open. This contains all the Webpack related configuration. If you see here, like the main one is that entry, we are defining entry, site, source root, site.main.ts. This is the entry point. Then output, we are saying dependencies, then clientlib site, then name, the entry name here we are specifying. Then another important configuration, yeah, this is all compilation related configuration. Then if I come down, then here some plugins defined, mini CSS extract plugin, then copy plugin also. So copying these resources to the clientlib site folder. tsconfig.json, if I open that, it has the compiler configuration for TypeScript, target, module, then again base URL, then remove comments and all those configuration. Then also we are including all the TS files. Package.json, this contains all the dependencies and scripts. So if you see all the dependencies, so all the modules, also some scripts are defined, dev, prod, start, sync, watch. These scripts can be used to build the project, to develop the client library, and also quickly test the application through this start script. Also we can deploy the changes to AEM server. Clientlib.config.js, this contained all the clientlib configurations. So if I come down, so it's defining the base directory name where the client library should be stored. Then have some basic configurations, CSS processor, JS processor values, then again the individual client libraries. If you see here, name, then categories, demo site.dependencies, then assets, JavaScript and CSS folders. This is for clientlib dependency. So the JavaScript and CSS under this folder will be considered. Same way we have something for clientlib site. The category is different. Then dependencies. This referring this dependencies demo site dot dependencies client library. Then again the JavaScript and CSS folder, client lib site. Let us quickly review the content inside this specific folder site. It contains main.ts. This is the entry point. This has import for all the JS and TS. So again, it's based on clubbing pattern. So we don't want individually. Then if I go to main.scss, it contains all the style importing all the variables, base and component styles also here. Then other styles also. Now if I go to variables, it contains all the variables defined, example colors, different color. So then base SCSS, this contains the base or common styles defined here. Then another style folder, this contains the site specific common styles. Now if I come back to Webpack, again go to components, this contained all the component specific style and JavaScript. If I open one of this SCSS, yeah, it contains all the classes defined but no styles, we can enable as required. Then also the JavaScript, hello world.javascript. Then if I come back resources, this contains the fonts and images. Then static, this contains the index.html. This HTML can be pulled from AEM. So you want to quickly test the style instead of deploying the changes. This index.html can be used. If you see here, the site specific client library is not included. So what does that mean is Webpack server inject the site specific client library during the runtime. This is the structure of client library. So if you see here, UI frontend module generates these two client libraries, client lib site and client lib dependencies. UI apps module contains other client libraries like client lib base, client lib grid and core component client libraries. Let us quickly see the installation steps. The first one is install Node.js. The version should be 10 plus. Also this installs the npm. Yeah, then navigate to UI frontend module and execute npm install. This install all the required dependencies and enable the scripts. Then you can execute either one of these commands, npm run dev, npm run prod, npm run start. Npm run dev, this do a full build of client libraries with JavaScript optimization disabled. Generates the client library and copy to UI apps module. Npm run prod, this again do a full build of client libraries with Java optimization enabled. This generates the client library and copy to UI apps module. npm run start, this starts a static Webpack development server for local development with minimal AEM dependency. Even you can use Maven command. You can navigate to UI frontend and execute mvn clean install. This do all these activities, npm install, then it use npm run prod or npm run dev based on the environment. So this compile the frontend module and generate the client libraries to UI apps, but it won't deploy the changes to AEM. So here again the Maven has its own local Node.js and npm versions. So that can be configured through this parent pom.xml. If I go to pom.xml, you can see this front-end Maven plugin configured with Node version and npm version. So this will be installed on the first deployment. For the final deployment to the AEM, you can use this. Navigate to the project root folder, then execute mvn profile auto install single package clean install. So this compiles the front-end module and generate the client libraries to UI apps and deploy the complete package to AEM. Let us quickly execute cd to demo site is fine. Now cd to UI frontend. I'm going to do npm install. npm install completed now. Let me execute npm run dev. This compiles the module and generates the client library and also copy the client library to UI apps module. Okay, it's copied the client library. Let me go into the module quickly. So UI frontend, then if I go to dist, it generated client lib site. Inside that we have fonts, images, then site.css and site.js. Now if I come back to demo site and go to UI apps, src main content, jcr root apps client demo site client libs. So here if you see client site just now created, so then client dependencies also. If I go inside client site, you can see css, js, then all the content.xml, then css.txt, js.txt file also generated. Inside CSS, we have site.css. Then JS, we have site.js. But the changes are not deployed to AEM. Even we can execute mvn clean install. So this again compiles the module, generate the client library and copies the client library to UI apps. Let us now quickly test the changes in local. Execute npm run, then start. This will start the Webpack dev server. Okay, started. I am seeing the static file, the index.html. Let us quickly change some style. I am going to src main Webpack, then I am going to site, then variables. So I am going to change the background color. So let me put something. This is a green. So this is fine. Now let me go to the browser. This will be automatically reloaded. Now if you see, the background color is green. Any style or JavaScript changes can be quickly tested. To deploy the final changes to AEM server, you can navigate to the root folder, cd double dot, then execute this mvn auto install single package clean install. This will deploy the complete package into AEM server. Let us now see how to enable the support for multi-tenant or multi-themes. The default configurations are enabled to support single tenant or theme. One option is to create tenant or theme specific module. Here we have one module, UI frontend. Maybe this can be a parent module. Then you can create multiple child modules by copying all these configurations. But that will create management and maintenance overhead. Also, this impacts the deployment. Takes more time for complete deployment. We are going to use this specific structure. Site specific folder site1 and site2 under Webpack folder. Then individual site specific folders having the default folder structure, components, resources, site and static. Then the configuration files are common. Again same webpack.dev.js, webpack.prod.js, webpack.common.js, then clientlib.config.js, package.json. These are all the files we are going to modify. The first one is creating site specific folders for CSS and JS. The next one is webpack.common.js, additional site specific entry point configuration here. Then webpack.dev.js, site specific static file configuration here. Then clientlib.config.js, site specific client library configuration. The last one is package.json. We are going to enable some additional script to support AEM Fed. Let us quickly see the demo application. Created this site1 and site2 folders under this Webpack folder and copied the default content from Webpack folder into this site1 and site2 folders, and also removed the default content from Webpack folder. Let me open the configuration files. So if I go into webpack.common.js, here if you see, I am enabling some additional variables, site1/site1, then site2, then /site2. Then if I go into this, I am enabling the entry points, site1, then main.ts, then site2, then same way. You can enable how many entry points you need. Another configuration change I am doing is like a clientlib name/name, because I am going to create this clientlib under the specific folder, clientlib name. So name comes from this entry point, site1 or site2. Then again the file name is site1.js. Then another configuration change is if I come down. So here I am like copy Webpack plugin. So I am enabling site specific copy, right? Site1 /resources copy into this clientlib site1. Site2 specific resources copy to clientlib site2. Then webpack.dev.js, let me open. If you see here, I am enabling this HTML Webpack plugin for both the sites. Site1 static index.html, so site2 static index.html. This will help you to test all the tenant application locally. Then specifying a unique file name. So if you see here site1.html, here site2.html. Then defining these chunks, site1 and site2. What does that mean is the CSS and JS files specific to the site will be injected into the corresponding index.html. While testing through site1 specific HTML file, the site1 specific CSS and JS are injected. The same way for site2. Let us review clientlib.config.js file changes. I am going to place the site1 and site2 client libraries under the same folder. If you see UI apps, src main, content, jcr root, apps, the project name, then client libs folder. But if you want, you can change the root folder path. So then I am defining the site specific client libraries. If you see site1.dependencies, Then the folder name also client-lib dependencies site1. So same thing like the folder, local folder, client-lib dependencies site1. Same way site specific also client-lib site1, site1.site, then site1.dependencies, then client-lib site1. Same way for site2 also. So only changing the site2, the folder name and the configuration names. So like this you can define all the site specific client-lib configurations. Let us quickly see the package.json changes. So I am using AEM fed to sync the changes to AEM server, AEM sync, this is the script name. Then configuring this, then watch, I am enabling watch npm run dev. So I am watching for any changes, then running this script npm run dev, so that the client library will be generated and copied to UI apps. The same time AEM fed is looking for any changes on that folder JCR root. So the changes will be automatically deployed to AEM server. Let us quickly run the application. First time run the npm install. I already ran it. I am running npm run dev to see the generated files. Okay, it's compiled and the client libraries are generated and copied. Let me go into this UI front end. If I go to dist, you see client lib site1, client lib site2, also the static file site1 and site2. If I go inside site1, you can see again same thing, fonts, images, site1.css and site1.js. Same way if I go to site2, fonts, images, site2.css and site2.js. So if I go back here, UI apps, then go into src main content jcr root apps, then client libs. So if you see here, client lib site1 and client lib site2 folders are created just now. Then if I go inside, you can see all those folder structure, site specific client libraries. Let me quickly start the dev server. For that npm run start. Server is started. Let me access the static files. So first one is site1.html. Yeah, fine. Now if I go to site2.html, both the sites are having same color. Let me quickly change for site1. If I go here, site1 variable SACS. So let me change it to maybe to different color. Okay, fine. Save this. The browser will be auto loaded. Site2 still same color, but if I go to site1, the color got changed. Let us now quickly see how to use AEM fed to deploy the changes to AEM and test through proxy. So for that I am going to run this npm run AEM sync. This is a custom script I enabled. Okay, it started. So yeah, this is the proxy URL http localhost 3000. Then I am going to, in another terminal, I am going to start the watch. So for that npm run watch, this is also custom script I enabled, watching src. So first time it will execute, this fine now. The first time the client library is built and copied. So let me go and access this proxy. So this is the proxy URL. So if I go this proxy to AEM server, if I open, because I already logged in, so it will take me directly to this one. So this is fine now. So I'm going to access this specific website. So content, I will go here, US EN, this is fine. If I go and access this .html, yeah, this is fine. The background color is blue because earlier we changed it. So what I'm going to do is I'm again changing the color. So in site1, so if I go here, maybe I will change it to red. Yeah, this is fine. Now save this. So again it will auto reload. It may take some time. If you go to this, you see, yeah, the npm is running now. Okay, client lib generated and copied. If I go here, yeah, it's now deploying to AEM. Now if I go, yeah, you change. Now if I go to crxt live, yeah, the background, if you see A01212, if I go here and find it, yeah, same thing. So the changes are immediately deployed to AEM and the browser is reloaded. So this is very useful because you are directly testing in AEM, even though you are proxying, but the content and everything is coming from AEM. Let us now quickly see how the site-specific client library is enabled in template. So for that, go here, click on templates. Okay, open this. Okay, edit this template, content page template. Go to page policy. If you see here, site1.dependencies and site1.site client libraries are pointing, but if you want, you can change it to site2.dependency, also site2.site, same way here, 2.dependency. You can just save this. Yeah, fine. Now if I go and refresh this, yeah, the change is reflected. The site-specific client library can be configured through template or through page rendering component based on your use case. The UI front-end module enables the easy approach to manage the front-end files through central location. The demo application can be accessed through this URL. Anyway, I will be posting the URL in video description. Feel free to provide your comments. Thanks all for watching the video. See you in the next video.